Mhm. Okay, so um, welcome to a new pool session where we come together to share with the community in a traditional way. Thank you all time. We're trying pool video format. Brandon Tunj, he is the CEO of a fancy football app that aims the ecosystem by combining blockchain and decentralization video collectibles. And today on the World Cup, we'll talk a little bit about the possible blockchain technology and NFTs industry. Don't forget that you an exclusive. No? Oh, sorry? Can you hear me well, Fred?
With a lot of cuts. I think it's something related with your internet connection, probably.
Might be.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, but from your side, I think it's something in the microphone, probably.
No. Let's see if it works. So, welcome, Fred. Could you please introduce yourself, the background, and how did you to start working in the blockchain?
I can't really hear you. There is something that is not working well.
Let me take.
I'm going to this. Can you hear me better now?
Is it better now? Okay, let me see. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do it like that. Sometimes the AirPods are not the best choice.
Now it's perfect, I think.
Yeah. So let me start from the beginning again.
Okay.
So today we have Fred Antunes, the CEO at RealFevr, a fantasy football app that aims to disrupt the NFT ecosystem by combining breakthrough tech, blockchain decentralization with the uniqueness of video collectibles. And today, since most of us are still in the World Cup mood, we're going to talk a little bit about the possible impact that blockchain technology and NFTs can have in the football industry. So welcome, Fred. First of all, could you please introduce yourself to our community? What is your background and how did it lead you to start working in the blockchain space?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Fred Antunes, CEO of RealFevr. I think everything started like in 1996 when I got internet connection in my house for the first time. In terms of university, I've studied philosophy, 7 years in Lisbon University, and I was playing World of Warcraft at the hardcore level, and back to 2010, 2011, and that's how I came into Bitcoin, especially because there was a lot of people in the guild saying that we should start mining it and we could trade Bitcoin for gold into World of Warcraft. So it was really an easy way, for you to farm more gold to spend on potions and alchemy stuff and mining stuff into the game. So back to that time, we used to trade Bitcoin for gold because gold was much more valuable than Bitcoin back to that time. Then the first batch that I bought of Antminers, it was a Antminers S3 in May of 2014. 2016, I founded the Portuguese Blockchain and Cryptocurrencies Association, and since then I never stopped. And I came to RealFevr. The company already exists. It was founded in 2015, but was not performing well financially and in terms of product development. And the first thing I did was to swap all the human resources to Web3 and immediately move forward with that.
Okay, cool. So you came through gaming, right?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I would
So
say
what is
that more than anything else, I'm a pure hardcore gamer. I still play every day. I'm still playing World of Warcraft, the new expansion, Dragonflight. And I'm delighted that there is a lot of people into Web3, and especially CEOs of other top companies that they have been playing World of Warcraft also at the higher level. So it's absolutely fantastic. And also, just a quick note, the first time that I heard about the name Ethereum was in fact because of a warlock who used to play in Method for the Horde. And that guy, Ethereum, was Vitalik like 2 or 3 years before Ethereum ICO appears.
okay? So what is the concept behind the RealFevr, and what sets it apart from other fantasy platforms, other fantasy sports platforms?
Yeah, I think above all, we are competition agnostic and we are deployed in 12 different languages, including Arabic, including Russian, including Malaysian. So that was one of our decisions to move forward with a lot of different languages. And the second one, I think it's the quality of our data and the balance of our players in the game. So when you play RealFevr in our applications, I think product quality is much better than all the competitors. And the way that you can set up the teams, the way that you can engage with your friends, I think it's very well designed. And we spend a lot of money to guarantee that we will have a world-class fantasy platform.
So how do the NFT football video collectibles work, and why are they valuable? So how do you determine their rarity and value?
Yeah, so the idea 3 years ago was okay, NBA Top Shot, and let me say that I'm a huge fan of Rohan from Dapper Labs. So um, I was of one of the huge collectors of CryptoKitties, and I was following, the NFTs hype since the beginning. Also, I'm a holder of Lunar Token. It's already bankrupted, but anyways, it's still on chain. Now on OpenSea, it's called Moonplot, and when Roham and Dapper moved with this idea of the video NFTs for basketball, immediately popped up in my mind that okay, if they are doing this for basketball in the United States, why we cannot do this for football in Europe? And especially because our connection into football was huge. We are the official fantasy league of the National Portuguese League. We are also partners of the Portuguese Football Federation. And the decision was, okay, where are the rights of the Portuguese National League in the last 22 years? And for pure coincidence, the owners of those rights, the right holders, we shared the same office in Lisbon for like 1 year. So I just made a phone call, and they knew nothing about Web3. And it took me like 5 months to explain them everything related to Web3, how we could make money together, how we could valuable their media assets and everything. And then we set up a partnership to create the first drop. So in our case, we are talking about full licensed IP NFTs, where we connect the IP and the videos, the highlights of those football players, and we just convert them into NFTs. Regarding to the value, your question, I think value is the market who defines. So I'm not the right person to say why should have value or not, because it should be the market who recognizes that. But in our case, I think we are one of the few projects that can really bring not utility, because utility is like a sexy word, is a buzzword that everybody wants to speak about it, but indeed you will be able to play at a real gaming environment with your NFTs, not just for a hype, not just for a bullshit whatever. It's real. So you will be able to buy your packs, collect your decks, and play with your decks, or even lend them to someone that wants to play with it. So the type of ecosystem and environment that we are building to our goods, because I don't like to call them assets, the environment that we are creating to our goods is to guarantee that people will have multiple options, not only to collect them, but also to play with it, which is something that I believe as a gamer.
Yeah, and how do you ensure the security and authenticity of these collectibles?
So the first thing is we audit all our smart contracts, at least from two different independent auditor companies. Sometimes we do not share the audits, although they are public. So if any user wants to do that due diligence, they can go to Certic or to Pessimistic or to Hacken, the companies that we work with, and they can verify the audits. But above all, we don't audit the smart contracts to show off to community. We audit the smart contracts above all for ourselves to guarantee the security of our platform. And we have at the moment an immaculate track record. We never been hacked. System was never down in the last 3 years. Even in the fantasy platforms in 6 years, we never had a critical or major hack because we take cybersecurity as a very serious way. And I think what makes, in the end, the biggest difference is 95% of what you see in RealFevr.com is created and is developed by RealFevr team. So we are not just a marketing team with outsourcing some anonymous people to code for ourselves. In the case of RealFevr, we code ourselves. 60 to 70% of our human resources are coders and developers. So we guarantee that all the process between alpha, beta, staging, and production, we guarantee that we can fix up eventual problems. And that's how in the last 3 years we have an immaculate track record.
Very good. Talking a little bit about the game itself. Can players create their own fantasy leagues on RealFevr, or are they limited to pre-existing ones?
Yeah, we need to split the two type of games that we have. So we have the fantasy platforms with the mobile apps, and that is a Web 2 fantasy environment where people can play with it. You know, it's a proven industry. It has 20 years already in the market, so it is running. It is fine. There is not that many innovation in there, in my personal opinion. Now, what we are about to deploy is a new gaming environment called Fever Battle Arena. And that's where I spend most of my day because it is really where the innovation is, right? So to create a fantasy platform, there is a lot of open source code that you could do it in like 1 week, almost with no code. But for Fever Battle Arena, we are completely reshaping the industry and, in my perspective, pushing Web3 mankind forward. And why? Because, above all, we just got inspired by a game called Magic the Gathering and another game called Hearthstone from Blizzard. And those games were card games where you could play with those cards with the huge success and the huge reach in the last 15 years. And the idea was, okay, if they did it with paper card, right, and the physical printed card, and Hearthstone did it for Web 2 with digital cards, why we cannot merge these two concepts and create a Web3 game underlying in blockchain technology and NFT technology. And we are about to deploy the game in the next couple of weeks. So hard work in the last year. And for me, what I want for RealFevr is always to be ahead of our competitors. And I know that with Fever Battle Arena, we are at least 6 months, if not more, 6 months ahead of all our competitors in this market at the moment. And I'm delighted with that.
So very good news for the beginning of 2023.
Yeah, the idea was, let me just say this. The idea was, I think Dapper started a bit ahead of us and Roham was a bit ahead of us. And what I always had in my mind was, okay, how can I chase him and take take the leading in this race that we don't know where it goes to end. But yeah, I really believe that we are 6 months ahead of any competitor.
So, what do you consider to be the potential implications of RealFevr's use of blockchain and NFTs for the overall football community?
Well, it's a very complicated answer because the overall football community does not care about anything related to crypto or Web3. That's the first mandatory thing that we need to understand. But in the opposite way, indeed, it's very important. So we have a lot of people in crypto that they are really, really huge fans of football. But the fan of football that is not in crypto is not interested on that, So we are talking about a huge group of people, a huge total addressable market in football, but most of them, they don't care about crypto. And there were a lot of people trying out a lot of things to activate that audience. And it's something where I do not spend money in terms of advertising, in terms of engagement. What I want in the opposite is to look at the crypto communities who are already huge fans of football, or even crypto communities who never heard about football or never were connected, but through RealFevr, they discovered that football is a brilliant and fantastic and amazing sport. So we do the opposite funnel. Instead of acquiring people in football to bring them to crypto, I think we should do the opposite, which is acquiring crypto people and give them the beauty of football, because it's the best way to corner the onboarding process that is a disaster. We all know that, right? That is a disaster when you jump into crypto for the first time. It's like you have to buy Bitcoin, or you have to buy Ethereum, or you have to buy BNB, you have to install a MetaMask, you have to store a seed phrase. Then you will try to understand a seed phrase and a mnemonic key. Okay, they are more or less the same. So then I have to register in an exchange. I need to do a KYC. I need to load 100 euro. The process is crazy. And our idea to grow was, okay, let's wait for Binance and Coinbase and all those multi-billion-dollar companies to guarantee that they
more people come, yeah.
They onboard more people into crypto, and we are the guys who just operate with the crypto people, and we give them the beauty of football and other sports.
Yeah, makes total sense. But in your view, how can the use of blockchain and NFTs for the football industry could enhance the fan experience and the engagement? So how could it impact the relationship between clubs, players, and fans?
Well, the first thing, and in multiple conferences that I attend, the first thing that we should start to do is to change the naming of the things. I'll tell you why. Nobody cares about NFTs, nobody cares about blockchain, nobody cares about anything related to tech names. They care about moments, goods, collectibles, so words that for them make sense because it's already implemented in our society. So if you take a look 20 years ago, we were not building a TCP/IP technology for people. We built products using TCP/IP as a technology, and we created the internet over it, right? So the first thing that we should forget is NFTs, blockchain, and whatever. For those type of people is pure bullshit, and just direct them to easy money, which is even worse, right? So in most of the time, I never use the word NFT during my pitches or speeches or whatever. I use the word moments because it is what we create. We create highlight moments of the top world-class football players in the world, moments, and we create a game, not a Web3 play to earn, whatever. Forget it. We create the game, a video game that you can play with your moments, and you can buy moments through packs. So you buy packs and you open the packs and you have the moments. And I never speak about NFTs or whatever. That is the first thing. The second thing is the type of use cases that you can apply the technology. I think there are thousands of different applications in ticketing system, in merchandising, in even with marketing activations in the fields, in the stadium, whatever. But it's not what we do, and we keep our focus in a very straightforward way. So for us, we get we get the packs, we get the moments, we get the game, Fever Battle Arena, and we want to give a full experience to our users where in fact you are buying something that you can collect and you can play with it.
And does it bring also opportunities for fans and players to co-create and co-own football content and experiences?
Yeah, definitely. I think the co-creation and the co-ownership is also a very complicated subject, especially because of regulation. And I think in 2023, 2024, but in 2023 for sure, there will be a lot of regulatory things that people will discover that we didn't discover in 2022. I think the most important one is definitely when you deal with IP that is licensed for a specific NFT project, and I can use those NFTs inside other ecosystems that the right holder didn't license, but I gave the ownership to the user, so the user decides what he wants to do with that specific good or asset. Definitely it will create a lot of intellectual property legislation turbulence, and nobody knows how to deal with that. But besides that, what I want is always to avoid the classification of an NFT as a financial asset, to guarantee that as an NFT, in our case in RealFevr, we are talking about the good, not never a financial asset. And this is the most important and crucial thing for the success long term of your project, is to understand the difference between an NFT as a good or an NFT as a financial asset. And in our case, our position, because we study the law, markets in crypto assets, MiCA, our position is always to guarantee that we are dealing with digital goods and not with digital financial assets.
Yeah, and besides that part, so the part of the fan experience, the fantasy gaming, the virtual memorabilia of football moments, do you believe that blockchain technology could be used to improve the transparency and fairness of football club governance or decision making? Do you see it, for example, being used to enhance security and protection of player contracts or intellectual property rights, as you've mentioned, or in another case, to improve like traceability and accountability of football player transfers, for example?
Well, as a dreamer, I wish that blockchain technology could rule our society in terms of governance in a horizontal approach, right? So for me, if we accept to delegate our human governance to machines, which is in fact what we do when we deal with blockchain, that would make a lot of sense. In terms of transparency, 1000%. In terms of traceability, 1000%. I completely agree with you. But this is Fred as a dreamer. Now, if you ask me if this will become a reality in the next 10 years, I doubt about it, because and that's why sometimes I really step aside of the football industry and the sports industry, because maybe I should not say this, but also as a crypto person, we should be honest. And football and sports industry, they have a lot of problems of lobbies and middlemen and a lot of things that I completely disagree with. So I don't think in the next 10 years blockchain will be implemented by FIFA, to improve the transparency and traceability about how we transfer players, how we pay commissions, how middlemen interfere in the whole process, whatever. As a dreamer, I wish it could be possible.
Yeah. And how do you think blockchain could impact the global market for sponsorships and advertising in sports?
That I think is a completely different situation. And we have the example of 21-22. So basically, the biggest sponsors in football last year or last 2 years were betting houses and crypto companies, Crypto.com, Socios, and many others. If you ask me,
Binance too, no?
Binance too somehow. If you ask me, should we do this as a crypto company? Should we support the needs of hard money that football has to operate? Should we support it? I don't think so, and that's why RealFevr didn't do it. But we supported it, and that was, I think, the first approach. The second approach is the moment where we can decentralize the way that we advertise in a stadium and the way that people produces content that can monetize in a peer-to-peer approach and individually. And that probably there will come some startups that will try to explore that business opportunity. And if they get well connected into the industry, definitely they can reach a very good success.
Okay. So you were talking from the perspective of Fred the dreamer, but now let's talk about the perspective of Fred the achiever. Which milestones did you already achieve with RealFevr that make you really proud?
I think the first one was when we did the first drop and we sold out everything in 23 hours. That made me really, really proud, because we had the opportunity to prove that we could do this by our own, and we could create a product using blockchain technology that in fact was working as intended. Then we did the next drops, always with a huge success. Second milestone was when we dropped Italy. I always had in my mind to be the first one to drop Italian content, and we did it. So it was also a 1-year work in Italy with the club, with Torino Football Club, with the president, with the CEO, with the whole team. A lot of bureaucratic regulatory issues that we have to solve out, but we did it first before anyone else. And now I think what we are about to reach with Fever Battle Arena will definitely be the way that we are outdunning ourselves. And in a very short period of time, like 9 months, 10 months, we are deploying a full game, full functional, operating with our goods, and enabling that gaming experience to our users, and grow the platform to the next milestone, which is to have more than 100,000 people playing it daily basis.
And speaking of those drops, what's the process for creating and releasing the collectibles, and how often do you release new ones?
Yeah, that is a very good question. One of the things that makes the whole difference, besides RealFevr and its competitors, is really the way that we curate content. So when we get a new archive to process, I give you the example. We set up a partnership with the Spanish Football Federation, Tier 1 rights. We are going to make a drop this month regarding to Copa del Rey. So basically we are activating the whole history of the Spanish football through Copa del Rey, and we will be the first ones dropping Maradona and many others. And the process is, once we get the full archive, in RealFevr team, we have people who watch all the games and start to curate the data to make sure that we get the best moments. Then it goes to a second phase where we set up all the moments and we decide how to balance them to make sure that users will have a good experience when they are opening the packs. And the third one is to classify them with the game already in mind. So we cannot do legendaries just of strikers and abandon the defenders or the goalkeepers. Or we cannot do only epics of midfielders because we need defenders, goalkeepers, and strikers. So we need to create a very good balance. So when people goes to play with it, it's also very well balanced. And in terms of time to market, it depends on the IP that we have. It depends on the market demand. It depends on how the game needs to be rebalanced in the future. So this year, for example, we did 2 drops already, one from Torino and another one from beach soccer, both sold out. And this Christmas, we are going to do another one from probably one of the best IPs in the world, which is Copa del Rey. And trust me, when we announce all the players involved and all the moments involved, it's absolutely marvelous what is in there.
Good, sounds very exciting. My last question, just to end this show, is there anything that really excites you in the Web3 space right now?
Well, it's not the best moment to answer to that because I'm dramatically disappointed,
Yeah.
With Luna, with FTX. I think what really excites me and at the same time what really disappoints me is a culture. So I believe I am one of the persons who completely follows the cypherpunks philosophy and the culture around decentralization, which is much more important than just to make easy money. And I think crypto today has a lot of people that are just chasing easy money, and they don't care. They don't give a shit about about decentralization or Web3 values, right? So what really excites me a lot is I had the opportunity to be part of this almost since the beginning. I didn't change my mindset because of the money, and I still not intoxicated by easy money that we can get in this industry, And so for me, my biggest excitation is the way that we are building products, compete with our competitors because I'm a super competitive person. And yeah.
You're a gamer, you should be.
Yeah, exactly. As a gamer, I'm always competing with the others. So, but competing with honor, not competing, cheating on the others, right? Undermining the others. I hate that. And I think the values of crypto are also to play with honor, not to play undermining the others for you to be the only winner. So I'm a person that works like 14, 16 hours a day to make sure that we are doing the best and we can execute our vision as best as possible. And at the same time that we have the best investors in the world on board with us and in our cap table to guarantee that we have a full support when we need to grow and when we need to move forward. I can't hear you. You are muted. Yeah, I think so.
Sorry. Perfect ending. Is there anything you'd like to add about RealFevr before we finish?
Yeah, just to say thank you to Polka Starter because you were very important when we deployed our IDO. There is a lot of Portuguese people there, and we are good friends. You have been doing a great job. Thanks for the opportunity for being here today. And of course, thank you to our community who is always supporting us and believing that our work will succeed. And the only thing I can say is we are more motivated than ever. And even with these scandals and this, misery around FTX and something else, we are more motivated than ever to keep building for the next bull run.
Thank you, Fred. And thanks everyone for tuning in. this will be the end of our Poolside with Poker Starter. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any topic or guest that you want to hear on Poolsides, do let us know. This will be the last episode of 2022. We're taking a little break. If you're curious about RealFevr, head over to realfevr.com and start collecting your favorite video collectibles, NFTs. And in case you've missed this live session, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, and Google platforms. This episode will be available very soon, and you can also watch it on YouTube. We're building a pretty good mix of guests for the next year, and we hope to see you soon. Thank you, Fred, and I'm sure you won't miss the Game Awards tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.